What would your life look like if you had the energy to actually go after what matters to you? Right now, most of us are operating at a fraction of our capacity. We are stressed, overloaded, and running on empty. And the cost, our health, our focus, and our ability to thrive. But what if I told you there's a way to take back control? After decades of studying performance, I've uncovered the exact framework that allows you to optimize your mind and your body. It all comes down to 8 core components. 4 physiological and 4 psychological. These are the levers that are going to actually move the needle in your life. The truth is, we're living in a world that constantly trains us. But when you understand how to match your energy to the demands of your life, everything will change. You start making choices that fuel you instead of deplete you. And once you learn this framework, you won't just feel better, you'll operate at a level you did not think was possible. Now let's get started. There are so many distractions in our modern lives that are holding us back from reaching our full potential. If you're here, I guess you're feeling ready to change that and explore what truly matters in your life. We're bringing you thought-provoking conversations and topics every week that will help you focus and unlock your performance and become your best self. Make sure you don't miss out. Please subscribe and don't miss the opportunity we have together to reflect, grow, and create the life that you aspire to. I've been in this world of human performance what feels like my entire life. When I think about the health and wellness industry as a whole, it feels a bit noisy to me sometimes. My life's work really and the overarching goal of this show is really to try to separate, the signal from the noise. There's nothing more empowering than understanding how it is you need to apply your effort so you can pursue the things in your life that are truly rewarding to you. Having been in this kind of world of high performance for, a very long time now, as an athlete and a coach and a scientist and really an expert in human performance, I feel like there is a path. If we are interested in pursuing our values with joy and energy, there are some foundational elements that if we consider and we build into our life in a way that makes sense given our constraints and what in fact we're interested in pursuing, all of a sudden we are in a position to really take the control back and really give ourselves the agency that we need to really live a life where we're able to, live our values with joy and energy. And, I think this exploration of human performance is one that I think is important. And I feel like the word performance itself gets a little bit of a bad rap in that, I think we immediately think of, the elite athlete or, the elite CEO, but that's not really how I see performance at all. And, I've been carrying around this definition of performance for, almost 30 years now. And I use it as a way to ground, folks in a place where they recognize that, wow, okay, performance is actually for me. If we are interested in maximizing our potential as a human being, interested in living our values with joy and energy, performance is really about the capacity of an individual to intentionally behave at a level equal to their physical, mental, and emotional potential, right? Like having that understanding of how to apply your effort, right? And that's really the intention piece, right? Like knowing, all right, if I want to be able to show up in this world with appropriate levels of mental, physical, and emotional energy, that is something that we can choose. We can choose performance if we understand how it is that we need to apply our effort. And as a result, we can get closer to our potential as a human being. I need to say that the stuff that we talk about is pretty much democratically available and free. I'm not talking about, billions of dollars of supplements and, yeah, that might be a part of the conversation, but this is really about just basic ways to think about your behaviors and your lifestyle, your patterns of thinking, understanding the core psychological needs that we all have as human beings. And once you understand what those core needs are, you can build a framework into your life so you can interact with those needs in a way that allows you to push your life forwards. I want to spend a minute talking about the factors of human performance. And you can imagine a Venn diagram. In the left circle, you've got your genetic predisposition. In the right circle, you have your skills and expertise. And in the bottom circle, it's your lifestyle and how you manage your lifestyle. And it's in a Venn diagram because they all kind of interact, right? And I think what's really exciting is that your lifestyle is really what is the primary factor of whether or not you're able to leverage your genetic capacity and your skills and expertise to the fullest. And our lifestyle is largely stuff that we can control, right? Again, if we understand the factors that are actually going to move around our genetic capacity and our skills and expertise, then we can start to make conscious choices in terms of what is going to upgrade versus downgrade. And, a big part of kind of my thesis over the years has been that performance is largely a choice. When we have education, when we have resources, and we have an understanding of how it is we need to apply our effort, it becomes kind of really a binary situation. We're either kind of choosing behaviors that are serving us, right, and allowing us to pursue our values with more joy and energy, or we're choosing behaviors that are going to detract from that. I've always found that to be a really helpful framework to just kind of keep me accountable. Because that, I think for me, at my core, I really want to make sure that my behaviors align with who I say I want to be in the world and who I want to be, who I aspire to be in the world. And, I'm not perfect, but of course, but I generally know what is going to allow me to leverage my genetic capacity and my skills and expertise to the fullest, versus not. So I'm able to kind of go into my day with this knowledge, and I really give myself, I think, the power of that choice. And I think what comes with that is maybe some accountability, um, that I think is important. And I think that it also helps to underpin um, a more disciplined lifestyle. And I think most importantly allows us to align our behaviors with, who we want to be in the world. I'll be talking later at a later time about kind of some scaffolding around this concept of personal readiness that includes exercises that will allow you to really explore your identity and your values, habits that are serving you versus not, and outlets. Those are really kind of the four basic principles of personal readiness. And it takes some work to kind of get inside each of these. And I have some really good exercises that are going to allow you to dig into kind of each one of these components. So you can kind of arrive at a place where you understand who you actually want to be in the world, and you can start to kind of dissect how you're living today, and whether or not that is actually, pushing you toward a life that is truly rewarding for you, whatever that means for you. So kind of understanding, I think, or having a framework around this Venn diagram could be really useful. When we think about lifestyle, and you can imagine that's like, a pretty robust bucket, right? There's a lot of things that kind of go into it. But when we really distill it down, again, signal versus noise, there are really kind of 8 components that I think we need to center on. There's the physiological side. So things that are going to move around our physiology. These are kind of related to our circadian health, or like circadian behaviors, our sleep behaviors, our recovery behaviors, and our training behaviors. Okay. Understanding the core aspects of these 4 influences is going to be really central to creating a foundation that, again, will allow you to leverage your genetic capacity and your skills and expertise. On the psychological side, you've got, there are also four components. There's purpose, there's self-efficacy, there's control, and there's connectedness. I've kind of chosen these eight based on all the evidence that's in the literature in terms of what influences really create a foundation that allow us to optimize for attentional capacity, for motivation, for energy production, right? So when we think about our ability to kind of show up in the world as a version that we feel really good about, these physiological and psychological influences, these are really kind of the core elements that move us around. So at a minimum, we want to just have an understanding, a basic understanding of how to interact with these influences or adopt behaviors that allow you to kind of, check off the boxes across these basic kind of fundamental core principles of human health and functioning. It's important to note that these core psychological and core physiological influences will directly impact our capacity. So we have, you can imagine a gas tank, right? And as we go through our day, we use the gas that is in our tank. And there are things that are going to deplete us, and there are things that are going to restore us, right? And we want to just try to create as much balance between the things that deplete us versus the things that restore us. And of course, our sleep is really when we are able to capture much of the restoration and recuperation that we need from the day's efforts, right? But depending on the intensity of our day, we might actually need to build in different types of rest throughout the day. So this is something that we'll talk a whole lot more about, but just at a very high level, just understanding that we have things that will put stress on our body, and it's important that we balance that stress with appropriate levels of rest. And you almost want to have in your mind like this constant kind of calculus of, all right, that was a stressor. All right, I need to make sure that I bank some rest. And you can almost imagine your day as this kind of like stress, rest, stress, rest. And when we do that, we actually decrease that negative stress accumulation. And I would say, having worked with thousands of folks and just been inside, millions of data sets at this point, looking at the interaction between stress and rest, folks that are not thinking about rest in an intentional way end up adapting to a lower level of mental, physical, and emotional functioning. What's tough about that is it's really sneaky, right? You can't even perceive your own declines most of the time. And there's lots of evidence in the research that has shown this to be true. When we are under-recovered, underslept, underhydrated, misaligned with kind of our purpose, behaviors aren't aligning with what we say we care about and who we want to be in the world. All of this kind of adds up as stress in our body. It's depleting our gas tank, right? And over time, that is when we become vulnerable to disease and to sickness, right? We get into this place where we're overloaded, right? So understanding, what is it that gives us this foundation, right, to build our capacity so we can tolerate stress in a functional way, right? And we want to build our individual robustness, right? So we are able to come to the world with the mental, physical, and emotional capacity that allows us to live our values with joy and energy. Okay, so we've got the physiological side, we've got the psychological side. So basically, you can imagine that every demand on your system, and could be simple, just brushing my teeth, right? Like that is not a huge demand, right? But then I could have, I could need to give a presentation to the board, or I need to, compete in a match, right? A basketball game or whatever it is, right? Like that is a demand on your system. And the extent to which you are managing your physiological and psychological influences will determine okay, which is essentially your capacity, right, will determine your mental, physical, and emotional response. You want that response to be appropriate to the demand. I want to be able to have the ability, the capacity to mobilize energy in a way that enables me to meet that demand in an appropriate way. So if I'm just brushing my teeth, I don't need to mobilize a whole lot of energy, right? So I need an appropriate response in that moment. If I need to do something that's like off the charts, kind of difficult, I need to be able to mobilize more energy for that task. The extent to which I manage these physiological and psychological influences will determine my ability to show up appropriately, mentally, physically, and emotionally for that task. This is called demand match. Demand match is at the heart of performance. And that honestly is when life feels really good. And you can probably think about times in your life where you were able to show up with appropriate mental, physical, and emotional kind of response for whatever was being asked of you. In that alignment, I don't know that there's really anything better in this world. When you just feel completely aligned, you have the right amount of energy, you can mobilize it on demand, right? That is at the heart of human performance. You're intentionally behaving at a level equal to your physical, mental, and emotional potential. Boom. That's really what we want. When you're in a situation where you are not minding your physiological and psychological influences with intention, right? And you're not sure how to really apply your effort, okay, across these influences that are going to impact your response, you can end up in a situation where you're in chronic mismatch. That is, your capacity is not able to meet the demand. Okay, whatever is being demanded of you, you do not have the capacity to meet that. And what this state is really called in the literature is allostatic overload. Allostatic overload is basically a situation where your capacity does not meet the demand. You are depleted. Your gas tank is at empty. And really, what is at the heart of that emptiness is just a lack of being able to manage these influences in an appropriate way. I think that's really what we're trying to achieve, I think, with this show is to help you understand how to build your foundation, how to build your capacity so you can create as many demand matches in your life. As a scientist, I'm deeply committed to working with companies that rigorously test their products, which is why you're hearing me talk about my new show sponsor, Huel. Their range is formulated by registered nutritionists, third-party tested, and I can assure you, it all tastes really good. I've been so impressed. I recently decided to join their science advisory board. On especially busy days, usually when I'm traveling, it can be super hard to hit my macronutrient targets. Huel truly helps me stay on track. It's packed with 27 vitamins and minerals, and I'm just so grateful to join a brand that is trusted by people like you and backed by scientists like me. If you'd like to try the world's .1 complete nutrition brand, you can find it at GNC stores nationwide or at huel.com/Kristen. That's HUEL.com/Kristen. I've discovered a game-changing beauty device, and I'm not gatekeeping. It's the red light face mask from this show's partner, Bone Charge. For those who are new to red light therapy or near infrared, it works by penetrating deep into the skin to boost collagen production, reduce inflammation, and smooth fine lines, wrinkles, and scars. I've only used it for a few weeks, but I'm already seeing improved texture and a bit more firmness. These are, just kind of preliminary data, but so far, so good. And what makes it stand out for me is that it's cordless. I can literally make pancakes for my kids while wearing the mask. What's also unique about Bone Charge that I love is that it has more LEDs than any other brands, offering better coverage and optimized treatments. Check out Bone Charge's face mask or explore the rest of their amazing products to aid your health and wellness journey. Head to bondcharge.com/Kristen, and for a sneaky 15% off code, use Kristen at checkout. Discount applies site-wide. You'll also get free shipping and a 1-year warranty. Head to bondcharge.com/Kristen now. When we start down the path of managing these core physiological and core psychological needs, we start to begin to have more agency over our performance levels. I think what's important to understand is that what we're doing is actually building a more robust autonomic nervous system. And I know that's probably not something folks have heard much about, but I really believe that if we can tend to these core psychological and physiological needs, we actually create a safer internal environment that allows us to be able to respond and adapt to the stressors of life in a more functional way. So really what we're doing by managing these psychological and physiological kind of influences is that we're creating a more robust autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system has two branches, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. They are both competing to send signals to the heart. And this is kind of at the heart of human performance, right? And the heart of kind of health and human functioning. When your heart can meet the demands of the autonomic nervous system, you can perform, right? And if we back up and think about demand match versus mismatch, demand match is possible when you have a robust autonomic nervous system. So when we think about circadian behaviors, recovery behavior, sleep behavior, training behavior, purpose, control, efficacy, connectedness, right? These core physiological and psychological needs, right? How we manage them, how we tend to them is going to dictate our capacity, okay? And when we have capacity to meet demand, we create a match. And what we're really training, okay, by managing these influences is our autonomic nervous system. That's the entry point to performance. So I think when we understand that we're really trying to increase our heart's responsiveness, right, to the demands of our autonomic nervous system, and all of these behaviors are either going to increase the robustness of our autonomic nervous system or decrease the robustness of our autonomic nervous system, now we start to understand the mechanism behind what is happening with our behaviors, right? And that when we can exert control over our autonomic nervous system, that will dictate how we show up in the world. That's the choosing the level of performance. This framework that I've developed, and once we understand it and we kind of create, we understand how to build these behaviors into our life in a way that makes sense for us, now all of a sudden we have a foundation to choose our level of performance. When we consider like at a high level, and you can imagine the earth, right? And the earth is going to be literally divided into two. And it's already divided into two. You have folks who have control over their autonomic nervous system on one side, and you have folks who do not have control of their autonomic nervous system. And I can tell you which of those folks are going to have a competitive advantage and a survival advantage. It's the folks who have control of their autonomic nervous system. So this is an incredible opportunity. I think it's really a call to arms from Mother Nature, if you will. That's we need to increase the robustness of our autonomic nervous system if we're interested in increasing not only our competitive advantage, but our survival advantage as well. And that's really, in the end, what this show aspires to do is to give you the space to explore who you want to be in the world. And, what is that foundation that is going to allow you to be that very best version of yourself? Let's take a second to talk about Whoop, a sponsor of this show, where I work as the global head of human performance, principal scientist. Across January, we ran a campaign called January Jumpstart to help our members build plans for 2025. Our January Jumpstart campaign aimed to really inspire folks to choose from one of the 5 tracks. Across these 5 tracks, we saw our members improve, which was so cool to see. Behavior change, of course, does not stop on January 31st. It is a 24/7, 365-day-a-year mission. It is about just small, consistent change every single day. So keep motivated and hold yourself accountable with Whoop. With features like Whoop Coach, weekly plans, and trends, you can better understand your health and how your actions can work to improve it. If you'd like to experience the power of behavior change, head to join.whoop.com/science to sign up for 1 month free trial.